Sir Adrian Wycliffe first saw Blackthorn Manor through a sheet of rain. The carriage lantern cast a weak circle of light on the iron gates, where thorny vines crawled over blackened stone. The storm had started over an hour ago, just as Adrian left the city, as if the weather itself resented his journey. He stepped down, boots splashing in the mud, and pulled his coat tighter around his shoulders. He had been summoned, not by some minor functionary, but by the one man whose word could bend the kingdom's politics, Lord Benedict Hale. A seat on the royal council had become vacant only a week ago, after Councillor Edmund Caro died of the fever. The capital's whispers said otherwise. They spoke of poison in golden goblets, dissent silenced at midnight, and a quiet burial overseen by men who never gave their names. Adrian had tried to ignore the rumors. He failed. Ambition didn't allow him to ignore opportunities. He passed through the gates and approached the manor. The house loomed over him, all angles and shadow, its windows lit with a faint yellow glow, as if someone were trying to make darkness look welcoming. He knocked once. The door opened without a sound. A thin butler with hollow eyes bowed. "Sir Adrian Wycliffe, Lord Hale is expecting you in the drawing room." Adrian handed him his drenched coat, wiped his shoes, and followed the man along a corridor lined with portraits. The painted eyes of dead men seemed to follow him. There were no women, no children, only stern faces in dark clothes, every one of them wearing the same faint, superior half-smile. Men who had held great place, men who had given up something to get it. Francis Bacon's famous line drifted into Adrian's thoughts unbidden. "All rising to great places by a winding stair." He wondered just how twisted this particular staircase was. The five in the room. The drawing room was warm, lit by a large fire and a chandelier that trembled as thunder shook the manor. 4 people were already there. Adrian recognized Jonathan Mercer first. Tall, lean, always composed. Mercer had served as royal advisor for nearly a decade. He owned neither title nor land, but carried more influence than half the nobility. "Adrian," Mercer said, offering a thin smile, "I thought you were smarter than to come out in a storm like this." "I thought you were busy at the palace," Adrian replied. Mercer's smile deepened just a little. "Tonight, Blackthorn is more important than the palace." On the sofa near the fire sat a woman in a charcoal dress, a notebook in her lap, pen poised. She didn't bother to hide the way she studied Adrian. "This must be Miss Eleanor Blackwood," Adrian said. "Guilty," she answered, "though I prefer Eleanor unless you plan to sue me for defamation one day. I write things that powerful men don't like." She was known across the capital as an investigative writer. No official title, but her pamphlets and essays had exposed more corruption in the last 5 years than any court inquiry. Some called her dangerous. Others called her necessary. Adrian wasn't sure which he believed. The 4th person stood by the window, arms folded, staring out at the storm. "Thomas?" Adrian said, surprised. Thomas Crane turned slowly. He wore a dark suit that didn't quite fit his shoulders, and his normally open face was tight, strained. Adrian and Thomas had grown up together, studied together, struggled together. While Adrian entered politics from the front, the speeches, the debates, the handshakes, Thomas had gone in through the back door, into clerical work, strategy, and quiet favors. "I didn't know you'd be here," Adrian said. Thomas swallowed. "Nor I you." His voice was flat, his eyes refusing to meet Adrian's. Before Adrian could push further, the door opened again. Lord Benedict Hale entered. Benedict's lesson. Benedict moved more slowly than in his younger years, but nothing about him seemed weak. His hair was silver, his back straight, his eyes cold and sharp as river stones. He wore no ostentatious jewelry, just a simple signet ring, the symbol of his authority. "Sit," Benedict said. He did not raise his voice, yet they all obeyed. He settled into the high-backed chair facing the fire and looked at them one by one, as if weighing not their bodies but their souls. "You are wondering," he began, "why I have called you here, on a night when even the rats would prefer to stay indoors." Eleanor's pen scratched faintly on paper, already taking notes. Benedict's gaze flicked to her. "You will write this down, Miss Blackwood, I have no doubt. But you will not publish it?" "Not yet." "That depends on what I hear," Eleanor replied. "I don't accept censorship from anyone, Lord Hale, not even you." He gave a tired, almost indulgent smile. "You will live longer if you pretend you do." He turned to Adrian. You, Sir Adrian Wycliffe, are about to climb higher than you realize. The council seat that has opened is not an honor. It is a burden. A man who rises to great place does not stand taller. He stoops more under the weight of every choice. Adrian straightened. If you summoned me to frighten me away from it, my lord, you're wasting your breath. Benedict's eyes narrowed slightly as though amused. You remind me of myself 40 years ago. I also thought fear was something other people felt. He paused. Tell me, Adrian, do you believe Councillor Caro died of the fever? The room froze. The fire crackled. The storm rumbled beyond the windows. Adrian answered carefully. That is the official statement. I did not ask you for the official statement. Eleanor's pen stopped. Adrian knew every rumor, every whispered accusation. A noble house destroyed overnight by a legal decision Caro had pushed. Merchants ruined by new tariffs. A prince's quiet fury over an insult never acknowledged in public. No, Adrian said finally. I do not believe he died of the fever. Benedict nodded slowly, pleased. Good. You are not a fool, then. Councillor Caro was removed. Not with a blade in the back, that is for simple assassins. He was killed by pressure, isolation, poison, carefully timed. By a chain of ambition, each link a person who wanted something. Eleanor spoke up. And did you forge any of those links, my lord? Benedict looked at her calm. If I had, he said, it would have been for the good of the kingdom. Great Place is not a seat of comfort. It is a chair with blades beneath the cushions. Sit long enough, you bleed either way, by doing what is right, or by refusing to do what is necessary. A confession. Thomas shifted uneasily by the window. His fingers tapped against the glass in a nervous rhythm. Adrian watched him. Thomas, you've been quiet. Thomas flinched slightly. I'm just thinking. You look like you're hiding, Eleanor observed. Thomas turned on her. Is everyone in this room obligated to become a character in one of your stories? It's not a story I'm after tonight, she said. It's the truth. Benedict raised a hand. You are all here because you are entangled in what happens next, he said. Some by choice, some by ignorance, some by design. He nodded toward Jonathan Mercer. Mercer knows that the king will accept my recommendation for the council seat. He is here to make sure. I suggest a man who does not threaten the crown's interests. Mercer inclined his head, acknowledging this without shame. Miss Blackwood, Benedict continued, is here because her pen controls the court of public opinion more than she imagines. A story from her at the right time can ruin any of you, including me. Eleanor's lips curved. Good to know my invitations are finally open and honest. And Thomas, Benedict said quietly, is here because he has already been approached by people who want Sir Adrian to rise, and are prepared to stain their hands for it. Silence dropped like a stone. Adrian stared at Thomas. What is he talking about? Thomas's jaw clenched. He looked away. Thomas, Adrian said, voice low. Look at me. Slowly, painfully, Thomas raised his eyes. Guilt flickered there. I didn't want to tell you, he muttered. Not like this. Tell me what? Adrian demanded. That after Councillor Caro died, Thomas said, men I'd never met came to me. They knew I worked with Benedict's office. They knew you were close to him. They said you were the perfect candidate. Young, ambitious, principled enough to look clean, flexible enough to bend if necessary. Who were they? Mercer asked quietly.